called the firing line. I'm going to fire some names at you. And as weird as it sounds, a lot of the names I'm going to say we've actually already mentioned. And the very first one is Danny Spivey.
Danny Spivey, good talent. I don't know if the boys liked him as much. I enjoyed working. I enjoyed working with Danny every opportunity I could, and he was very generous again with me in the ring.
Yeah, I should also say, if you feel the need to throw in a story, please do. The next one's the Grand Wizard, Ernie Roth.
Oh man, he was a nice guy. I mean, he would always. I can remember in Hamburg because the one side of the dressing room for the heel was so small. I mean, all those guys, Fred Blassie, Lou Albano, they all had their seat at this one locker, and I would purposely walk in there, sit down there, and Shaw and Blassie and Albano be yelling at me, kidding around. Hey, this is our seat. Get the hell over there. But Ernie would sit down next to me. He goes, Ron. He goes, you're really doing well. You're showing that you can do this business and everything like that. And he was very, very, uh, happy with a guy who, they all knew Kowalski well. I think one of the biggest things, the reason why I was taken care of so well was because, Kowalski trained me, and Monsoon and Kowalski were great friends. So that helped me out. But the Wizard was a great guy, nice guy.
Yeah, Don always tells me that before he got into wrestling, he was he was an evangelist on the radio.
Whoa. Yeah, he could have passed as one.
Yeah.
He was, back in the day, I didn't know, but of course, he was the first manager that came out of the closet as being gay and so forth. And I can remember back in my days as a little guy watching wrestling that he managed beautiful Bobby, which was his lover.
Oh,
Yeah.
which beautiful Bobby? Not Eaton, surely.
Well, yeah. Well, you'd have to go back probably to the '60s and
Try.
something fine. Probably Google beautiful Bobby managed by the Grand Wizard.
There we go. There's something for the viewers to find out there.
Yeah.
Doctor D, David Schultz.
Wow. There's a loose cannon, I think.
Mm.
uh, he looked like he was pissed off all the time. I never worked with him, but I know one thing is you didn't want to get him PO'd. And I'm not going to mention a guy who I know very well who worked with him in the Spectrum. Before they even started the match, he just went up to David and just gently just slapped his hand. And you could see how pissed off he was. And he just was shooting with him the whole time. And yeah, he's that type of individual. A little bit of a loose cannon.
Oh, you can't give the story, not give the name, surely.
Nah, because he checks out my website all the time and follows these interviews. So,
Well,
he was a good guy.
okay. Well, whoever it was, if you want to admit it, please come out and say it. Next
I'm
one.
not going to mention AJ
No.
Petruzzi.
No,
Oh,
no.
All right. No.
We'll go for Haku. King Tonga, you wrestled him quite a few times as well.
King Tango, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a guy who I didn't know about either, and worked with. You're right. Worked with him quite a few times. Very, very light, easy to work with, and I remember one time I body slammed him in the ring, and I was getting ready to give him a big elbow smash, and either he didn't hear me because I said move, and I came down with that elbow smash across his chest as if that was the real thing, And he's laying there. I said, "Man, sorry, bro. I told you to move." He goes, "That's all right." But yeah, I found out, man, that guy you don't want to mess with.
No,
But he never returned a receipt. Gave me a receipt back or nothing. So
we found out with several people. Jesse Barr's the last story I've heard. Jimmy Jack Funk, who nearly got his eye rolled across the floor. The next one I've never asked before a name. Jules Strongbow.
Oh, I worked with Jules a lot in the end. And another good guy, very generous in the ring, and you could always work with him, so forth. Yeah, I mean, back in the WWF days, him and Jay Strongbow, he wasn't exactly the favorite from what I had heard. Of course, I wasn't there at the time, but outside the ring, yeah, he's a good guy. Good guy.
Mm-hmm. Bulldog Brower.
Oh man, one of my favorites. I mean, as a kid, I always like those like lunatic guys. And this guy, he might have been close to being a real one because he was the best. I mean, I'll go back and I watch footage of the old WWF days, and that's when he was big and so forth. And I was in my very first trip to the Philippines. I was with Brower there, uh, but I worked with Dick one time as a babyface in a spot show, and I did one of these little quick shoot moves with him that Kowalski taught me, where I drop down on my knees, I grab him behind the heel with my hands, cup my hands behind his heel, and I threw my shoulder into his knee to take him down. I don't know what made me do that, but I just decided to do that. And back in the dressing room, he goes, "Hey, what are you doing, man?" He goes, "I could get hurt, doing that." And I said, "Yeah, I guess one thing Kowalski taught me." And I said, "I thought I'd try it out, but I was green at the time. But I love Dick Brower, man, one of the great workers of the time.
Yeah, do you know this is a question that I should have asked before, but I didn't. Who was when you were in the business? Who was the toughest wrestler? Who was the most hard as nails that you'd never want to try?
I thought it was Paul Orndorff.
Really?
I thought it was Paul Orndorff, and we had him. I was booked against him in upstate New York, where they held the Olympics. The one, what the heck was it called? I don't remember, but it was all these white buildings they had built for the Olympics and so forth, and there was really nobody there, unfortunately. And I said, man, this guy looks like he's stiff all the time. But I worked with him, and man, didn't even know that he was touching me. And it was a good match, but we didn't kill ourselves because there was nobody there.
Yeah. With the next one, if you don't have any stories, I've got a replacement name: Gary Michael Cappetta.
Oh, Gary, yeah, Gary was another guy. This is funny because I told you earlier in the show that I was showing up after they invited me to do TV shows. I go to all these little local spot shows just with my bag and everything. And sure enough, so did Gary, in case they needed a ring announcer. And so me and Gary would exchange these little stories. But, Gary was doing this at the old Philadelphia Arena. But I think they brought in somebody else. And then they started using Gary just as much. But yeah, Gary's a nice guy.
I was going to ask Bill Apter. Did you have much interaction with Bill?
No, none at all.
No, none at all. Someone you did wrestle on several occasions, Uncle Elmer.
Yeah. One time in Toronto's Maple Leaf Gardens. That's the only one I can remember. I don't remember too much about that match, and I know he was another guy who used drop the leg across the throat. Couldn't have been that much of a match. These guys like 6'9", with fat and everything. What can you really do? I mean, I even worked with John Studd one time, and it was the same type of match. They were having the Philadelphia 76ers in the Spectrum, and as part of the after show, they'd have three wrestling matches. And originally, I was booked against somebody who I really wanted to work with, and because I knew it was going to be a great match. And then Monsoon puts me with Studd. I say, oh no. So all I remember is that the referee comes up to both of us, and he goes to John. He goes, "What are you going to do?" He goes, "As soon as I put him down to the mat, count 3." I said, "Oh, Jesus Christ." I said, "This is that type of match it's going to be." And it wasn't a match that I want to remember. It just wasn't meant to be, me against him. So, yeah, but he did what he did. He put me down on the mat, 1, 2, 3. That was it.
Oh, fair enough. You've mentioned heights before, Big John Studd and other people, and Uncle Elmer 6'9". What is the shoot height of Big Ron?
Excuse me?
The shoot height.
Oh, my height, actually.
Yes.
I'm 6'3". I'm currently 240 pounds, and I still work out. I got my own gym here in the house, and I still work out 3 days a week. So I'll be 64 next Friday, November 5th, and I feel great. I'm playing golf 3 times a week, working out, and plus my dog. That's another workout.
I'll give you a few more names. JYD, the dog.
Oh, yeah, he's another good guy to work with. I worked with him a lot of times on TV. Another guy that's very easy to work with. No issues with him.
Funny we mentioned him at the beginning of the show, or you did, in fact. Patterson.
Pat Patterson. Wow, another good guy. I got a great match, and this was one of these matches, James, that I never remembered. It was from Long Island, New York, big house show. And they were interviewing Pat at the beginning of the show. And Pat was nice enough to say, well, I'm taking on Ron Shaw today. Ron Shaw has been here in the World Wrestling Federation for 4 years. He's a rule breaker and this and that. And we went out as the first match, and Pat just sold for me. I mean, throw him out of the ring a couple times, this and that. And that's on my website too. That was one of my best matches with Pat. Great match.
Danny Davis.
Danny Davis. Yeah, well, yeah, good referee. A little bit of a jokester, and we teamed up when he was Mr. X a couple times. I remember in Boston Garden and so forth. We took on some guys, and they actually put us over a few times. I know one time on TV. Well, TV is TV, But Danny Davis was a good guy.
Don told me a story where Fuji or Don they gave him a bag of something that he was hoping it would be something more illicit than Sweet and Low that he ended up getting. I know that. Rocky Johnson.
Oh, nice guy. Boy, what a gentleman. I worked with him a lot of times also. Great guy. That's all I could say. Look, everybody was great. You got today you got the wrong show, Wrestling Shoot Interviews, because you're not going to hear anything bad out of my mouth.
Do you know what, right? I don't know what. I'm going to actually change the name because I put Wrestling Shoot Interviews because it was easy to Google. Right, that's the only reason I thought, well, I'll put it as that. But then I think it's got like negative connotations as well. So I'll probably end up changing the name soon. But I'm going to give you one more name. And there's always a story with this fella, Captain Lou Albano.
Oh, yeah. Lou was one of the great crazy maniacs on interviews. I'm always trying to crack up Vince on the interviews, and Blassie did the same thing pretty much. But Lou was, I would talk to him. It was just in general, nothing about the business and so forth. But yeah, Lou was a credit to the business.
Did you were you ever party to when someone would give him a bottle of vodka or a bottle of scotch or whatever it was?
No.
And say, go nuts, Captain.
Oh no, that wasn't me. And that was it.
Oh, sorry. Say that line again. The audio went dead.
Oh, I'm sure Lou did all his drinking on the way to the shows, and that was pretty much it. So he was half gone when he got there.